What if I told you that for almost a century, an inner city area at the heart of Birmingham was home to Europe's biggest slum? On May 7th, 1945, when Nazi Germany declared their surrender, the world was forever changed. Many areas of Birmingham were decimated by air raids during the war, meaning urgent restoration was required. One area fell victim to the worst of the bombings, an area known as Lee Bank. The area was comprised of back-to-back slum housing, 200 of which were bombed in the raids. So, in line with the country's growing trend of slum clearance, a full redevelopment plan began in 1948.
My name's Steve Austin and I've lived on Lee Bank for 34 years. After the war, they built properties to a high standard, and my block was built in the late 50s. As you get into the 60s and then into the 70s, the standard fell, and it fell quite sharply. It was a really bad place to live. A lot of the properties were in a great dilapidation. There was lots of mould, damp, lots of drug taking, prostitution on the estates. Unemployment levels were horrendously high. We were the forgotten estate. I think that if you've lived on an estate like Lee Bank, as it used to be, you see the deprivation, you see things like illness, people suffering from asthma. So you see kids that are running around that are really ill, they're not achieving what they should be achieving, the schools were underachieving, and I just thought it was wrong. I was involved in a number of demonstrations which highlighted the problems on the estate. We got quite a lot of media attention at the time, and it basically focused the problems that we were living in, and the council didn't really have a lot of choice, they had to do something about it. What started off as being a very short, what we hoped was going to be a few demonstrations, and the council were going to come round and replace the windows and do a bit of damp proofing. It turned out to be a wholesale regeneration. It was supposed to be for our estates, and we wound up taking on 4 other estates as a package to make it work. And it went from quite a small project, which is what we're hoping it was going to be, into something that was absolutely massive. The money from the government was 50 million quid, and that was 25, 27 years ago, so what would it be worth now? I was co-opted to the development committee meeting, so what I was trying to do is make sure that the promises that were made at the time of transfer were actually carried through. There were people who wanted to get out, and they were delighted because not only had they were moving out, they got the council in a little bit of a good position where they could bargain. It was a case of, well, I'm not moving until I get what I want, and you can't pull this building down till I move. And they moved out and they were happy. And then there was the people who wanted to stay on the estates. I think we managed to please most people. You can't please all the people all the time, but I think that most of the people were happy with what they got. So what we've managed to do now is we've managed to get rid of all the really bad properties, and we've built to a very high specification. So the people who are moving back have got good quality properties, good products in them, like the heating systems, the kitchens and all that sort of stuff were done to a good spec. And then all the work that was done in the flats that stayed were also done to a high spec as well. So the property is just better. The original idea was to have people come in that were employed and owner-occupiers, so it mixed the estate up, because what you tend to wind up is ghettos. The ghetto, very poor people, and next door to it you wind up with the ghetto, very rich people. Also, things like the shops, obviously if everybody's poor, they don't spend much money in the shops close down. So if you've got richer people there who are prepared to use the shops, it helps to maintain the shops and that type of thing. I think that if you work with the tenants and you try to build a community for the tenants that are there, that you can improve things greatly for them. Unfortunately, the community didn't come together as a unit. How you achieve that, I haven't got a clue, because we tried everything that we knew and it just simply didn't work. The idea was to bring people together of all sorts of walks of life and try and raise the aspirations of the youngsters. But there's although they actually live on the same estate, in properties next door to each other, there's very definitely a market in them and us. I think that the estate is fairly stable. We have managed to keep social housing close to the city centre. Future generations, I'd like to think that the properties will be maintained to a high standard, and so that we won't have the deprivation that we had when I first started. I've enjoyed it, I've learnt a lot, and I wouldn't not do what I did then. Would I do it again? No. I've done my share.